Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective and authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Breiler.
Joined as always by Chris Breiler.
Chris,
that makes you feel
like
good.
This all the time, right?
That makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Yeah. It feels great.
Excited about a Friday. We've got some really cool stuff, some fun stuff. If you can hear the music and our introduction, that's all new. We've added that. Hope to take things up a little bit in terms of production value. If you're out there and you can hear it, just confirm for us real quick that you can hear the music and that you can hear our intro so that we don't have a bunch of dead space for our listeners. Because I can hear it, Chris can hear it, our guests can hear it, but we want to make sure the people viewing and watching out there can hear it. So hopefully that's working well. But we're super excited, man. We are joined tonight by sophomore running back Blake Corum. Chris and I both extremely high on Blake, think he's going to have a big year. Originally from Virginia, finished up at St. Francis Academy and killed it there. Did some really special things in limited reps last year as a true freshman, but expecting big things in 2021. So Blake, thanks so much for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you guys.
All right. We've got confirmation, Chris. Everybody out there can hear what we're doing. So we're good. Right. We're good to go. All right. So Blake, we were joking a little bit before we started, man. You threw some pictures out there from the weight room, made everybody like me and Chris, these old guys, jealous of the physique and being rocked up. Tell us a little bit about like how do you find the drive for that? Your mentality, your background, your work ethic, everything that you bring to football, the weight room, just trying to get better. Just how do you get to a place where you can put a picture like that out there?
I mean, it really started from like a young age. It really came from my dad and my mom. When they grew up, my dad's dad, my dad's grandfather, they were brick masons, so they already had the work ethic in them. And they taught my dad, and then my dad took it to another level, and then my dad taught me. And the same with my mom, working from a young age. It was always work ethic in the family. And when I was growing up, I always had like ambition. I always wanted to do something. And my dad always told me, like, if I wanted to do something, like, go do it. And so he never forced me to do anything. It was kind of always, hey, Dad, I wake him up at like 4:30 in the morning. Hey, Dad, let's go to the gym. It was with like 24 or Snap Fitness or something like that. It was open 24/7. So we could go whenever we wanted. I wake him up, hey, Dad, let's go get some work. Hey, Dad, let's go get some work. And so it really just came from them always just showing me the way. And once they showed me, I just took advantage of it, took the opportunity, and that's how I'm here now.
I wanted to ask you how much of that led into you coming from Virginia to a place like St. Francis, where it's like, I mean, certainly playing time not promised at a place like that, tons of talent, crazy schedule, playing all the best teams in the country. I mean, I imagine that was a pretty big motivator for going to a place like that.
Yeah, it definitely was. I come from a small town in Virginia, where we have some good athletes, but living in a small town, the college recruiters, they don't really come out that way. And so I knew I had to go somewhere else. So I originally went to St. Vincent Pallotti High School. I ended up getting like 27 or 28 offers there. My first offers were in 8th grade.
Wow.
But I knew the talent there wasn't really where I wanted to be to get to the next level. So that's when I went to St. Francis, and that was a powerhouse. Mm-hmm. We played the best of the best every week, and it helped me. It helped me when I came here. Yeah.
I do, Blake, I want to go back a little bit, because when you and I originally connected, and I think it was some months back, maybe even last season, we talked a little bit about, your blue collar background. And I think that that's something that, Michigan fans in particular can appreciate about a guy like you. A lot of times you see like highly rated high school recruit coming in, you think, oh man, it's another pampered athlete, whatever. You are blue collar through and through. And one of the things you said to me when we were exchanging messages back and forth, I think it was something to the effect of country strength is different than gym strength, right? Something like that. So can you talk about that blue collar background and how that helped get not just your body, but your mind right and ready to compete at college football at this level?
Yeah, so I worked with my dad a lot, and he has his own landscaping business. So we're always, lifting trees, a lot of tree work and sod work and stuff like that. And so that's a big difference, like from lifting weights in the weight room to lifting stuff like that. But then when you combine both of them, it creates a machine. And so
Well,
there's
I think
definitely
that's what we've been seeing in the photos. A lot of what
Yeah.
we're seeing looks like a machine, to be quite honest.
right.
Um,
But there's definitely a big difference between country strength and weight room strength. I feel like country strength is like it's just like natural strength, where weight room strength you have to work for it.
yeah. Well, see, Brandon and I, we both grew up in the country, so I feel like a real strong guy. I know Brandon feels like we can relate to you at least on that level. Not, you take a picture of us, you wouldn't know by looking at us. But
Listen, I will say, I think there's some legitimacy to what Blake's saying. I've never been the strongest guy in the world, but I had buddies who were not big dudes, but like they could just move. They could move weight. They could throw things around. They grew up on the farm. They grew up
bales of hay,
doing that.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, like
Stuff
it's just in them. Like they just that has to be done. That needs to be moved from here to there. I'm gonna do it. I don't know. I think there's a lot to what Blake is saying. The different kinds of work can probably change, but that inner strength that you just have or don't, I think that's real. I really do.
It is for sure.
Yeah. So one of the questions, obviously, when we talk about last season was a weird season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the difficulties of playing during that 2020 season? Now, I know it was your first year, so maybe you don't have a lot to compare it to, but you're dealing with COVID, you're dealing with no crowd, you're testing often. There's, the schedule is unpredictable. Can you talk a little bit about how much of an impact just everything that was going on around you guys had on that season?
It had a big impact on the whole team because you get done with winter workouts, expecting to go into spring ball. Bam, you sent home for like 3 months. And so when you come back, you're expecting to, now it's time to get in the season. It's time to get into camp. All right, now we did like 3 practices. All right, now the season's canceled. So it's messing with your mentals. So then you have guys like, stressing, thinking it's their last year. Because you didn't know the seniors weren't going to get another year. We didn't know last year was free,
Yeah.
So for the seniors, it's like, dang, there goes my last year. For someone like myself, it was like I graduated high school early to, get ahead of the program.
Yeah.
And then it's like, I feel like everything was shut down. But it had a big effect because, we was getting tested every day. The stadiums were quiet,
Yeah.
we didn't have, the fans to pump us up on a third down or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, it was just messing with us, and we only had 6 games, so it was tough. It was definitely tough, but we managed to get through it. But that was that.
It's fun. It's crazy you say that. You graduate early, you go to Michigan. It's supposed to be like this. I'm sure it was still great in a lot of ways, but
Right.
man, how short it must have fell from what you envisioned. Maybe 6 months before that or 8 months before that. So you mentioned 6 games, only a handful at home, no crowd. Running out to touch the banner to like silence. Like, I mean, how different was it from what you maybe saw or felt, and then what it actually was?
Right. So for me, I didn't know what to expect from a fan base because I never played in front of fans. So for me, that I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Like that didn't affect me at all because I didn't know. I don't know no better.
With that being said, does it almost feel like you're going into your first year? I mean, granted, you have the experience, but
Right.
the experience on the field, but everything else that comes along with college football and that makes the game so great and one of the most exciting sports that we have in the country. Do you almost feel like this is kind of year one for you, like your coming out party?
I would not really.
Okay.
Not really, because I already had fans, no fans. It didn't matter. Like I already had expectations for myself, so. Like I feel like when I'm on the field anyway, I don't hear any of that. So I wouldn't say I feel like this is my coming out party, but it's definitely going to be a great experience. Like I can't wait till September 4th. But I wouldn't say it's my coming out party. But yeah.
Okay. Well, you talk about the expectations that you have for yourself, and I'm curious. Can you talk about Obviously you were involved in what was going on with this team on the field your freshman year. Can you talk about how your role, not just on the field, but in the locker room has changed from year one to now going into year two?
Yeah, so last year being a freshman, I feel like I couldn't talk much. It was more just leading by example. And now I feel like, the guys actually listen to what I say and look at me as a leader. So I feel like that's a big difference in my role from last year to this year. And I feel like I said, I feel like I'm not a captain, but I'm a leader. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the biggest difference in my role. Like, I can tell the guys, hey, let's get up, let's get up. I can talk to them instead of leading by example. Now I can do both. And that's what I feel like I've always done my whole life. I've always been a leader, leading by example and by mouth. And so that's my biggest role.
I think Chris and I are both really anxious to see how you do, how often you're on the field, how Coach Hart, we'll get to him in a little bit, but how Coach Hart uses you, uses Hassan, uses Donovan Edwards. A very talented room. I just wonder though, like, you do have a talented room. I know you guys all have the same big goal,
Right.
but like running back's a rhythm position. You hear that a lot. Guys get into a rhythm, you work into a flow, you get it going. What's that like when you've got a guy like Hassan, a senior who I'm sure is bringing you along, but he wants to be the guy, you want to be the guy, you guys all want to be out there and playing. Just what's that dynamic like in a room that has so much talent?
I mean, you just push each other every day. Iron sharpens iron. And so when someone else is on the field, you're rooting for them to do best. So we're here for each other. If one's doing good, he's going to eventually get tired. Now it's your opportunity to do good. So, we love each other. We push each other every day. I feel like we have the best running back room in the nation. And I think we're going to show everyone that doesn't think so. And
I think Hassan said pretty much the same thing at Big Ten Media Days.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's like. What's Hassan like in the locker room? Because after covering him for 4 or 5 years now, and covered him when he was a recruit, he's not a huge talker. And he said that. He's like, I don't say a lot. I kind of lead by example. But I'm just wondering, you're around him as much as anybody on the whole team. What's he like in there as kind of a, you mentioned you feel like a leader. He's obviously in that role as well.
Well, Hassan, he's not a big talker. He doesn't we talk all the time, but like when it comes to certain stuff, like he's not a big talker. Like interviews, I don't think that's not his thing. He'd rather just be on the field playing ball. And not everyone's a talker. Some people just lead by example. Some people do it both. Some people do one. And so I feel like H2 is just a leader by example. He's going to give you everything he has, and hopefully you see that he's doing that and follow him. And I feel like that's the leader he is.
I want to ask one more quick thing, Chris, about Hassan, because Coach Harbaugh said you and him are kind of like running back 1 and 1. Like that's what he said. He feels like both of you guys can be starters, and you're very different. I mean, different builds, different running styles, different skill sets. What are you able to take from him? What are you able to learn from him when you guys are built differently? You run differently. You do different things.
Yeah, so we kind of just bite off each other. If H2 he sees things differently than I do, he'll let me know. If I see things differently than he does, I'll let him know. So we kind of just come together. We're like a 1-2 punch. You don't know what you're going to get. And so with us being two different types of backs, I feel like it's going to be hard for other defenses to come up with a scheme because they don't know. And so that's what I like about our running back room and Hassan, because he's a big back, but he can also move. And I'm a smaller back, but I also can run power. So it's like we have two guys that can move and run power. So it's going to be a good season.
Yeah, and then you throw a guy like Donovan Edwards into the mix. And at Big Ten Media Days, Coach Harbaugh made clear that we would see Donovan Edwards week 1. Now, I'm not going to ask you to sort of, give us all the goodies on how all that's going to work, but just based on the time that you've spent with Donovan Edwards, it was obviously a big deal to Michigan fans to see him come. He was a highly rated recruit, happy to have him here. What have you seen from him as a freshman that I guess should excite the fans that are looking forward to seeing him on the field?
He's determined. He's determined to be better than he was the day before. He puts in extra work. He's going to give you his all. He's not going to quit at all. And he's a good back. You know, from what y'all saw from him in high school, he's showing right now. And so I expect big things from Donovan this year. And like I said, I think we have the best running back group in the nation.
Yeah, I would say you're not alone in that. I mean, I think from the outside looking in, like fans look at this team and they think, gosh, at the quarterback position or the offensive line position, like there's a lot of question marks. I think one of the position groups that most fans feel comfortable with is that running back room. It just, top to bottom looks extremely solid.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about, what your difference has been from year one to year two. I'm also curious, like, you guys struggled a little bit last year, but from everything we've heard during the offseason and Big Ten media days is that there is a different energy among the team heading into this year. Can you talk about, like, what is the biggest difference you see from year one to the team you came in with to the team you're going into 2021 with?
Right. So, it's a character thing. Like, everyone has good character this year. It's a culture thing. The culture is way different than it was last year. I mean, I'm not gonna give y'all too much, but when you walk into the building, you're gonna feel something, and it's good energy. There's no bad energy in the facility right now. Spring Bowl was phenomenal. Like, that was the highest energy I've felt since I've been here. Every day, guys are coming in and giving their all. And yeah, I mean, it's different. It's a different feeling than it was last year. Like, I'll give you an example. Like today, they threw a freshman in the fire today. So after our workout, we had these things called trap chin holds, and he had to beat his time from last week. And if he didn't beat his time, there's gonna be consequences for the whole team. Coaches put Vaseline on the bars. So it made it even harder for him. It made it even harder for him. But the team rallied behind him.
Yeah.
It was encouraging him to stay up there his whole time, and he beat his time. And then we all turned up. Yeah. But the culture's changing, and you can definitely tell. I feel like everyone has their mojo back, and yeah.
I got a question.
We got to throw this out real quick.
Throw it up.
We got Blake's dad in the house.
we knew he was going to be in the house. Hey, now's your chance. You want to give him a shout out? You want to say something?
There you go.
Y'all got to bring him on to the show.
We would love to have him.
I would love to do that.
You know what? The next time you come on, we'll do a tandem. We'll have Dad on here as well, and we'll ask Dad to give us some of the secrets about Blake Corum that maybe Blake doesn't want to give out.
Last words right there.
There you go.
Where was I here? I lost track. You know what? Dad comes in and I lose track of where I'm at here. We talked about the biggest difference from the team last year to this year. You talk about the culture change a little bit, and that's how much do you think, Coach Harbaugh obviously made some significant changes to his staff during the offseason. Mm-hmm. How much of that difference in culture would you attribute to those changes that he made in the offseason? Because it was pretty drastic. There's not a lot of people that are doing the same thing they were doing last year. A lot of new faces. How much of that is contributing to the new culture?
I think a big part of it is contributing to it. It's just like I said, when you walk into the facility from this year and last year, like, you can feel the difference in the energy. And the energy, that goes a long way. If you go into the facility with bad energy, you're not gonna have fun. But everyone's having fun every day. And so, with the new hiring, Coach obviously saw a problem, and he addressed it and he fixed it. And you can tell. And so the culture's changed.
I'm going to piggyback off that question. I think one of the biggest hires, one of the ones that I was, most excited about and thought was almost overdue was bringing in Mike Hart. Obviously guys, my and Chris's age, we remember watching him tear it up when he was playing, and now we watch him at Western and at Indiana and what he's been able to do. He's got coaching chops too. He's not just a former good player that got a spot. Like, he clearly knows what he's doing. I wonder specifically with him, cultural wise, how is he? I mean, I heard he's about his business. I'm sure he has fun sometimes, but I think he also really pushes you guys. Just give us the rundown of Coach Mike Hart.
What you said, that's not a false rumor. He's about his business. I love Coach Hart. I've known him for a couple of years, but we really become close since he's been here. Something I love about him is just, like, he doesn't want to lose. Like, he's a dog. Like, You know, he expects nothing but the best from you each and every day, and he's smart with the game. You know, his IQ is great. So the things I've learned from him already are unbelievable. Like it's helped me see the game way differently, and I think that's one of the biggest attributes Coach Jim, you know, did to the team this year with Coach Mike Hart. You know, with him being close to my size, they need the same size. You know, I feel like we can see things evenly. I can take things that he used to do when he played and add it to my game. You know, I can ask him questions, not just about football though. Something I like about Coach Hart, he teaches us stuff about life, and I think that's huge because it's bigger than football at the end of the day. And so, yeah, I like Coach Hart. I love the dude.
I was gonna say there's no way that Mike Hart, who played at about 5'9", 205, came in and didn't automatically look at you and go, "I like that kid. I like him. I like him." Yeah, I mean that is funny that you think that. I wonder, you know, what kind of. First of all, I'm sure you've at this point, if you haven't, but you've probably gone back and watched some of his clips and how he was as a running back, right?
Yeah, I watched his film even before he came here. You know, I knew who Mike Hart was, so I watched his film like before I committed and stuff.
I'm curious about this because we hear it all the time. Fans are like, "Oh, so and so, get him to coach." Get like any player who's ever played, they're like, "Get him to coach," and that doesn't always work, but it is with him. I just wonder, as a running back, and in your case specifically, you guys are close in the same size. How much more do you like believe or trust what he's saying because of the kind of player he was, what he did, what he can lean on?
Oh, I trust everything he said. You know, I don't go against anything he says because he's done it. You know, he's leading in everything at Michigan. So why wouldn't I? You know what I'm saying? So it's like everything he says, I'm paying attention to. I'm not even blinking. Like I'm locked in. Everything he says, I'm locked in. But yeah, I believe everything Coach Mike Hart says.
Yeah, and so you guys, I mean, you obviously, you know, we talked earlier about how last year was a tough year, and this year, you know, you guys still have a tough schedule ahead of you. And I know you don't pay too much attention to what people on the outside are saying about the program, but you know, there is a growing narrative out there that this year is expected to be a down year, that this is almost a rebuild year, that, you know, 2022 is really when it's supposed to come together for this team. As somebody, you know, like you, who's got big goals for this season, what do you think when you hear the narrative that this is supposed to be a down year or a rebuild year? I mean, you're in the trenches with those guys. You see the work that's being put in. What goes through your head when you hear something like that?
I mean, not much really. At the end of the day, they're gonna believe what they want to believe anyway. So it's like I don't pay attention to anything anyone else says because I know what's going to happen. They don't. They just that's their opinions, and their opinions don't matter. So I don't pay attention to the outsiders. A lot of people that say stuff like that are just hiding behind a computer anyway, you know. So it's like
I know a few of those people.
Yeah, I don't pay attention to them. They have no effect on me.
Is it hard to tune that out? I mean, you're on social media. You've got Instagram, Twitter. You know, is it hard to tune that stuff out? You must see a lot of it fly around, or are you just you know you got the blinders on? You don't see it at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really hard to tune it out. I mean, you obviously going to see it.
Yeah,
they're tagging you and stuff like that. But I think, like, I mean, if you click on their profile, they have like 5 followers. It's like you just created a page to say something. Like, how bored are you? You know, you don't have a job or something.
There's a lot of bored people out there.
I don't pay attention to what they say at all. Like it doesn't mess with me. I'm gonna be me regardless, you know. And so it doesn't have an effect on me. Like I said, I mean, the people that think this is a rebuilding year, all right, think it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Throw a little bit more love out there. Who's this guy? Raheem Anderson, some guy named Raheem Anderson. I think he's tuned into like all these, hasn't he? I think he said something to just about all these.
Well, and Andrew will stop by. Yeah. So, obviously, no conversation with a Michigan football player is complete without talking about Ohio State. right? And Brandon and I were both at Big Ten Media Days. The guys that were there, God bless them, but they spent a lot of time talking about Ohio State and the rivalry and how long it's been. And, you guys, based on the answers that we heard, there does seem to be a renewed focus, and we can see things like signs in the weight room. Like, what are you doing today to beat Ohio State? Can you talk a little bit about do you feel that there's a different focus on the rivalry this year? And if so, what feels different about it? What are you guys doing differently this year than you experienced, last year?
Like you said, there's stuff posted up all around Schembechler. So we had no other choice but to see it every day. And when you see that makes you want to grind harder. But then again, we're taking it day by day. We got to get through the first game. We got to beat Washington. We got to beat, Wisconsin before we can even get to them. We got to beat Penn State. But every day we're working towards beating Ohio State. And that's how it's going to be all year. That's how it's been since, the winter cycle, spring ball. And come that time, we're going to show the world. We're going to show everyone. But like I said, September 4th is coming up. So we got to put on a show September 4th, and then the week after that, and the week after that. But there's definitely been a change in the way we approach playing Ohio State, and I feel like this is the most we've talked about them in years. So it's going to be good.
Yeah,
that seems to be what we've been hearing. I mean, nobody really shied away from it. Aiden, Josh Ross, Hassan, even Coach Harbaugh, all pretty open about it at Big Ten Media Day. So
we're going to get there or die trying, I think is
that's
what
right.
said, right?
Yeah, that's what Coach Harbaugh said. We're going to do it. We're going to die trying, and that's the mindset I feel like we all have.
Speaking of that, I mean, even at Big Ten Media Days, Coach Harbaugh seemed, I don't know if it was more jovial, if there was more energy. I don't know what it was, but it's something seemed different. Do you guys notice that in him?
Coach got his swagger back.
Yeah, right. So it's not just like people on the outside making something out of it where there is nothing, right? Like there's you guys can tell, right? The players can tell.
You can tell. And it's not even in Coach Harbaugh. I feel like it's in everyone. Like, it's like the culture is really changing. And so, and you can tell it in everyone. You can tell the way we approach everything we do. It could be the smallest thing or the biggest thing. We're going to approach it the same way. We're going to give our all. And so you can tell.
All right, Brandon, do you want to go to viewer questions and comments, or do you want to go straight into it?
Yeah, let's jump into what we're trying to finish up here at the end. I think most of the stuff that people have asked has actually been asked at this point. So
okay. Well, here's the deal. So Blake, this is the point in the interview where normally I would ask you questions to what's your guilty pleasure music, your favorite artist. I would try to get something out of you that, that would get people talking, but we're not going to do that this time. We're actually going to throw you a curveball a little bit. We're going to hop into Brandon, hit the music. We are going into a football feud. Football feud is what we're going to call this segment.
Look, I like it, Blake. He's ready to go, man.
And we talked a little bit about this. So Blake has played Family Feud before. He understands how it works. It's a little bit different here since we don't have a screen. But Blake, this is how it's going to work. So lock in. You're going to get 5 questions. You're going to have 20 seconds to answer 5 questions. The top answers are worth 10 points. You need 30 points to win this game.
Okay.
The way it's going to work is we're going to create a leaderboard. We're going to have other players on. And so your score is important, man. This is like part of your Michigan legacy. Cut the music.
All right, cut the music. Here we go. Here we go.
All right, so you're going to have 20 seconds. The timer is going to start after I read the first question. Brandon, are you ready with the timer?
I'm ready, man. Let's get this.
Let's go with it. Blake, name something that goes up and down.
Football.
Name something a cowboy would hate to have happen.
His cows run away.
Name something that moves very slowly.
A turtle.
Name something you might bring on a date.
The money.
Name something you shake before using.
A protein shake.
Time.
Right. That was perfect. That was perfect timing.
That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Right at the 20-second mark. All right. So we're going to go back through them, right? We're going to see how you scored. You got to get 30 points. Obviously, top answers are worth 10 points, and then it goes all the way down to 1 point. So,
let's see how I did.
so for question,
I don't know how I'm feeling about it. We're gonna see.
question number 1, I said something that goes up and down. I believe you said football.
Yeah, it can go up, it can come down.
All right, 0 points. 0 points there. So we're not off to a solid start here. Name something for just so you know, the number 1 answer there was roller coaster. Roller coaster would have gotten you 10 points.
Makes sense.
Question number 2, name something a cowboy would hate to have happen. You said lose their cows.
Yeah, lose the livestock.
Which I think that's a pretty good answer.
Lose the livestock.
It's a pretty good that see, but Blake is a blue collar guy. Maybe you were overthinking it. Like the general public doesn't know how that stuff works. The number 1 answer was loses his hat. Loses his cowboy hat would have got you 10 points. But I think you picked up from here though. I think it gets a little bit better from here. There's still a chance to save it. So number 3, the question was name something that moves very slowly. You said turtle.
Gotta be a turtle.
Hey, we got it. So that's 10, 9, 8, 7 points.
7 points
for Blake Corum. Question number 4, name something you might bring on a date. You said money.
Gotta have some money.
Yay! Money. 7 points. So that's 14.
No, that's 8. That was 8 points.
That's only 8 points?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, money was 8 points.
Money was 8 points. So
7.
So we're at what? 15 points overall. So Blake, you can't get to 30. You can't win this, but we'll see where this shakes out. Name something you shake before using. I'm not surprised. He said protein shake.
On there, on the board.
That's 3 points. What's the grand total? I lost track.
So the grand total is 19 points.
19 points. Okay.
That protein shake was 4 points. 4 points for that.
You fell a bit short of the 30 points. We're going to have to go ahead and give you the boo track here. Is that coming out
here? If my dad comes on the show, I want to go against him.
There you go. Well, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. But, you obviously, this was the first one, and we appreciate you playing along. And so far, because you were the first one, your score right now is in top place. So it's up to the other Michigan football players to come on and try to dethrone you. Right now, you are the champion. Blake, we obviously appreciate you coming on. It was a hell of a time. And Brandon, I'll let you close it out if there's anything else you want to say.
Yeah, actually, I did see a fan question real quick that I wanted to throw out there because I'm a little bit curious too, and I think I can see it. But somebody wants to see the necklace. They want to see what it says and what that's all about.
The chain gang.
So this is my grind fit necklace. Long story short, I don't know what grade I was in, but I was working out. I was working out in the yard. My dad was at work. My dad works long days, and so I sent him a video of me working out, and I said, if you're working, I'm gonna work to make sure we're gonna be good. And so my dad posted that on Facebook. We got a lot of love from it. Y'all should create something with it. So we created Grind Fit. It's a clothing line. We have some merchandise, and the slogan is "You work, I work." And so if my pops is working, I'm gonna work. If my teammates are working, I'm gonna work. So it doesn't have to be it can be with life, If you're working, I'm working. So that's my clothing line, that's my chain, and yep.
There you go. Well, I'm gonna throw a couple things up there that I'm quite certain it's family at least, so I'm sure you want to see it. I'm not. You can let us know who this is.
That's my aunt. That's my aunt too.
She says great job. And then you challenged Pops to a family football feud showdown, and Dad's talking smack, man. Dad's talking smack already.
Well, now we have to do it. Now we have to do it because now it's personal.
Good stuff.
Sounds good.
Blake, thank you so much for the time, man. I think that went pretty well. We're still working the bugs out a little bit.
We'll get there.
It was great.
A couple good answers. I mean, a couple that I thought were okay, but
I thought too hard on it. You
can't overthink in football feud. But you know what? Solid score.
All good. Thank you, Blake. So much thanks. And good luck this year, man. Most health and success for you in 2021. And we'll do this again sometime, man. Appreciate it.
Sounds good. I appreciate you.
All right. Take care.
All right, there is Blake Corum. Interview number, what is this, 4? Number 4 for us now?
Number 4. Player number
JJ,
4.
JJ, Mozzie, Alan Bowman, and now Blake Corum. So
Yeah.
getting we got some skill guys, a couple
Hell of a way to
quarterbacks,
close out the week, that's for
defensive
sure.
end. Yeah, that was fun, man. That was fun. I hope people enjoyed that. It was fun to see Blake, throwing some answers out there, trying to figure it out. So no, that was cool. And like we said, when I introed him as we closed out right there, I think he could be awesome in 2021. Yeah. I really do. I think he could be outstanding. The skill set that he has, he mentioned the 1-2 punch with Hassan Haskins and how we're going to see some of Donovan Edwards. And I keep coming back to that's why I'm so anxious to see what Mike Hart does with that position group, because it's loaded, man. It's a loaded group. And there were, like I said before, there were times when you watched Blake last year where I'm like, damn, he's the only back doing that. And, Donovan Edwards is more like Blake than anybody they had last year. But I'm excited for him and that group for sure.
Yeah, there's no question about it. You and I have talked about it quite a bit. We're not shy about the fact that we're pretty high on him. And I think, the thing that's going to set him apart, and that's not to say anything negative about the other guys that are sort of vying for reps out on the field, but I just think he, physically he's, that's one thing, but mentally he's just built different. Like I love the way the guy works. I love the way the guy thinks. I just think he's got a really good head on his shoulders. And I think that when you combine his mentality with what he's capable of from a physical standpoint, to me, he just seems like that guy. He's that dude. And I'm excited to see, the season kick off and see what he can do, because we only got a little taste of it last year and it was a shame. And I think, he didn't want to say it was going to be a coming out party this upcoming season, but I think, the country is going to get to know Blake Corum very quickly.
We'll give Grandma Corum a little love. She's in there. She's Absolutely. Watching. I'm sure the whole family enjoyed watching Blake, talk the real stuff, have some fun with us.
Yeah.
I thought that was so funny that he said protein shake, and I was like, oh, man, I don't know if that's going to be there. And it was there.
Sure enough, it was there. Yeah,
it was there. So, oh man, no, that was fun, man. That was fun, and we're going to continue to get better with the sounds and the background stuff that we're going to do. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited about moving forward with this and continuing to get better on the pod and the live stream. So shifting gears over to basketball, yesterday was obviously the NBA draft. The big news, Franz Wagner going number 8 overall to the Magic, joining Mo, at least for the time being. Mo signed with Orlando in April and just signed through the remainder of the regular season. So his future there is a little uncertain. And actually, I tweeted something about this. They showed Franz's jersey being made, which included him getting the number 21, which is what number Mo wore last year. So that's not like the best sign that they're going to play together, but still really cool. Mo obviously very, very happy for his younger brother. He put out a really cool message to him. I put a story up about that earlier today, and just really cool. I mean, really cool to see Franz be a top 10 pick and go to a team like the Magic, who are really, really young and in a kind of ground floor rebuild. So they weren't very good last year. I think they had the second worst record in the league. But they've got some young pieces now. They obviously took Jalen Suggs number 4 and then backed that up with Franz at number 8. And then one of the coolest moments of the night was Isaiah Livers going to the Pistons. I'm a Pistons fan, have been my whole life, and big fan of Isaiah. One of the best kids you could ever cover, and just horribly unfortunate way for his career at Michigan to end, with the ankle injury and the foot injury or whatever it may have been, on the sidelines watching, and then to see him get picked by his hometown or his home state team. And, he's going to be right around the area still. And I think he's got a great skill set for the NBA. I mean, I just think everything he's really good at is what the NBA is all about. He's really, really smart. He's got good size and he can shoot it. Work a little bit harder on defense, and he's going to be a guy that gets a lot of minutes. So I was super excited about that. And then Shondy Brown signed with the Lakers, or at least is going to play summer ball with the Lakers, and Mike Smith is going to do so with the Bucks. So I mean, I don't know how much you watched of it. I don't know if you were tuned in all night or not, but I guess you got a little bit more plugged into basketball this past year
Yeah.
than you were in the past. What were your thoughts coming out of the draft?
Well, my thoughts are, it's a good night for Michigan fans, and it's a hell of a night for Detroit Pistons fans. I mean, I'm excited to watch the Detroit Pistons play just based on who they drafted this year. I mean, you got Garza, you got guys coming out of the Big Ten, you got the number 1 overall pick. It's going to be interesting to watch them play. But man, like, you look at what the University of Michigan is doing and how that basketball program is pumping out elite talent, first round talent. I mean, they are among the best in college basketball. And I know that, football is always going to be the darling in Ann Arbor, but man, what the basketball team is doing, not just under Juwan Howard, but going back to, the time when Beeline was here, this is an elite basketball program. And it's interesting because I don't know where there's another dynamic like this in the country where one team is like the basketball team is so good and the football team kind of struggles a little bit, but you know what I mean? Like, you would think that the basketball team would be far more popular in Michigan than it is. I just think people need to like hop on and pay attention to what's going on with this program because it is elite. And once again, they are primed to make a deep run in the tournament.
It's like what you said. I mean, like Michigan basketball is popular and there's a fan base and the atmosphere at Chrysler is great and it's all good. But yeah, football is always going to, butter the bread. It just is what it is. But even with such a stark difference in what they've achieved over the last couple of seasons, I mean, Juwan Howard comes in year 2, outright Big Ten champs and puts a guy in Franz Wagner in the lottery and has him, I think, and I don't have any problem saying this, and this is not a shot at John Beilein, but he's taken what John Beilein built and made it better, which I didn't think was possible. I mean, that wasn't, I was a little skeptical of Juwan Howard having never been a head coach. I knew he knew basketball. I knew he'd be able to recruit. I knew he was a stand-up guy and would be able to win the press conferences and get in living rooms and blow people away, but to then do what he also did as an on-court coach and to put the staff around him that he did and to create the culture that he has, it's been nothing short of amazing. I think that's been amazing. And where the program is right now is incredible. And it's just getting better and better. I mean, it's July, football camp is about to start and people are so pumped about the basketball season already.
And I can't remember when is the last time it's been like that in Ann Arbor this time of year.
I don't remember it.
No,
as good as John Beilein's teams always were, it never felt like this, in my opinion. And, you've got Hunter Dickinson coming back and Eli Brooks and Brandon Johns, a really good core of 3 or 4 guys that have played a lot. You add in a guy like Devontae Jones, a grad transfer from Coastal Carolina, and then the number 1 recruiting class in the country with a couple of 5-star kids who are going to play and maybe start. I mean, I think at least one of them will start. Caleb Houston probably. I don't know, man. It's just humming along, and I'm excited to watch them play whenever they get ready to tip it off. But we do have football first, and I'm getting more and more excited about that every day. I don't know if I would say – I think Michigan's at 7-5. We've talked about this, the football team. You're at 9-3. If they do go 7-5, is that a down year? Would you put that in the down year category?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think anything south of 8 wins is a down year. Okay. I think 8 wins is like that's the baseline. That's the bar. If you hit 8 wins, it's like it's a meh kind of season. It's like okay. But if you're south of 8 wins, that's a down year. If you're north of 8 wins, it's a good year. But for me, for a program like Michigan, they got to be at 8 wins in that conference. And when you go through the schedule, even if you have them at 8 wins, you're picking losses in that schedule where Michigan there are games in there that Michigan should be winning. They recruit, outside of Ohio State, they're the best recruiting program in the Big Ten. They're normally, number 1 or number 2 over the last 20 years. We've done that. I think 17 out of the last 20 years, they've had the number 1 or number 2 recruiting class. So yeah, I mean, they got to get to 8 wins. South of 8 wins is a bad year for this team.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that's bad for any Michigan team. I just don't, with what Michigan has, the resources, the way they can recruit, the kind of money they can throw around at assistant coaches. I mean, you should never be worse than that, in my opinion. I just, it's no program is immune to bad seasons, but I mean, in general, going in year after year, that's 8 should be the absolute floor in my opinion. So yeah, I'm with you. I just think of 7-5 is not good, but when I look at the teams that I potentially have them losing to, I mean, the only one that I would be pissed about in a normal Michigan year is Indiana, because Michigan has just been so good against them for so long. They're just in a good spot right now, and I don't know if Michigan is. But Washington, they're a competitor in the Pac-12. Wisconsin, Ohio State, Penn State, they're in the discussion with Michigan, certainly historically and year after year. So I don't know. I don't disagree that 7-5 is probably a down year, but I don't know if that's, I don't know. I wouldn't say that's the bottom fell out type of situation.
No, it's not. But it's a bad year, and like you and I have talked a lot about this before. I can't get to a place where entering year 7 is a rebuild year.
Well, that's it.
When we haven't really, or I say when the team hasn't really, gotten as far as you would have expected them to get by this point, So in the absence of a Big Ten title, in the absence of a win against Ohio State, as a fan, I can't accept a rebuild year going into year 7. To me, it's all right, this is year 7. You've had plenty of time to recruit, put the pieces in place, build this. This is your baby now. This is not Rich Rod. This is not Brady Hoke. This is none of that exists anymore. This is your baby, and you got to find a way to make it work. And the thing I will say is it does sound like from every player we speak to that it just feels different, and we talk a little bit about making a lot of little changes can add up into one, playing music at practices or the coaching changes you make or whatever it is to your assistant staff. It seems like whatever Jim Harbaugh has done has really worked within that locker room. And if it pays dividends on the football field this fall, I mean, you got to give Jim Harbaugh a ton of credit for what he did this offseason. We'll see if it plays out that way, but it sure as hell seems like it going into the season that it's had an impact on at least the mentality of these guys going into the year.
Based on all the things we've heard from media day and from talking to 4 of these guys now, how do I want to say this? The height of the peak and the depth of the valley is going to be such a big gap after that second game.
Yeah.
That Washington game,
Exactly.
We've talked about it over and over and over, how that game is going to kind of drive the rest of the season, I think, or at least the narrative as the rest of the season plays out. If they come out and they beat Washington, and if it's, a convincing win, especially, I mean, you're going to look back on all these quotes and say they had it. They knew something was up. They could feel it. Props to Jim Harbaugh for making the changes he made. He knew it was necessary. He cleaned house, and it freaking worked. At least through 2 games, it worked. And on the flip side, if they lose that game, I mean, it's just going to be, a Michigan Stadium-sized foot in the mouth.
Right. Yeah. You're going to go back and you're going to listen to every single soundbite from Big Ten media days. You're going to listen to every single soundbite of any player talking about, how things just feel different. And you're going to question that. And I know a lot of people in this fan base are already there. They don't care what's being said. They didn't care about what was said in Big Ten media days. They don't care what's being said in these interviews. They're already at the point where they just have to see it in the field. I'm still kind of, just based on what we do, I'm interested to hear what the mindset of these players is. And it has been extremely consistent throughout. Now, granted, I get that, you're not going to have a player show up to Big Ten media days and be like, well, the culture just kind of sucks or the vibe just isn't right now. You're not going to have that happen at Big Ten media days. But these guys have gone out of their way to talk about just how different it is and talk about culture and talk about mentality. And you're right. If week 2 comes and goes and that is an embarrassment on national television under the lights, I think a lot of people are going to be sitting back saying how the hell did that happen based on everything we heard going into the year.
There are going to be there's going to be if that's a win, it's going to, I mean, the energy around Ann Arbor is going to be insane.
Rock. Yeah.
The buzz, the vibe, the way that recruiting visits feel, the confidence of the players on the team. the pep in the coach's step when they're doing their media availabilities, and you whatever the case may be. And on the flip side, if they lose that game, there's so many people are going to mail it in.
It's
So
pitchforks.
I mean,
yeah,
I just can't remember a non-conference game like this feeling so like such a tipping point in both directions. I'm just so anxious. I'm so anxious for things to get going so we can see what it looks like and get some answers and just see what's really going to happen and how it's going to play out.
Well, and normally I wouldn't put so much importance and emphasis on one game, but given the way last season played out, you're coming off a 2-4 season. That was a difficult year for everybody. Mm-hmm. You got to get a big win early. If you have the opportunity to do it, it's going to change the entire mindset of your team. But, if you come off of a season like that, and then you I understand Western Michigan comes first, but I'm, as a fan and as somebody who reports on it, I'm not going to spend time talking about Western Michigan, because if that's where we're at with this football program, then we're having totally different conversations. Michigan will take care of Western, but they've got to take care of business week 2, because that's their first opportunity to really come out and say, hey, last year that was an anomaly. That wasn't who we are. That wasn't what we're about, and prove it on the field. But yeah, man, it is that fork in the road. That's the difference between 7-5 and 9-3, and we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I feel like maybe almost every episode it comes up somehow, some way, that week 2 game against Washington. I think that speaks to just how important that game is and what that will mean for the whole season. I wanted to ask you real quick, Chris, before we switch to our last and final, or our next and final topic. The stuff about last year, the COVID year, 2020, the season's on, season's not on, the testing every day, seniors. Like, I thought Blake's answer was as open and honest and real feeling as any answer you could give to that question. I just wonder how is it that Michigan got hit like it was a truck by that, but a team like Indiana almost thrived and had one of its best seasons in several decades. And then, of course, Ohio State's crazy talented, but they look like a machine, and they go on to the national title game. And, Michigan State can somehow come in and beat Michigan during all that stuff. Yeah. And Rutgers can battle Michigan. And I'm not discrediting what Blake or any of the players have said, because they all said kind of the same thing. It was, and I know it was tough for a lot of people, whether it was the athletes or the coaches or their families or people working a 9 to 5. It's 2020 sucked for a lot of people. Yeah. I just wonder why Michigan specifically seemed to be so hampered by that year when other teams weren't.
Well, I think from listening to the players, it just goes to show how important culture is. And I think, when you look at some of these elite teams like Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, their culture is what it is, and it works, and they've got it figured out. And when you're a team like Michigan and you're struggling to find answers at several positions, and the culture and the environment in the locker room isn't what it should be, that's how you get to 2-4. And that's how a team like Indiana can beat you. And that's how a team like Michigan State, who's in a rebuilding year, can come into your house as a 21-point dog and beat you. And so I don't think it's a coincidence that the guys have spent a considerable amount of time talking about how different the culture is this year. And again, I go back to the fact that it's clear that something was wrong. I mean, if you look at the offseason changes to this coaching staff, it's significant. There's not a lot of people that were retained. And even the people that were retained are doing different things now. So I think that's how that happens. I think you've got some coaches or some players on the roster contributing to a culture that's just not healthy. And when you couple that with the fact that you're still trying to figure things out on the field, it just seems like it's far too easy for a program like Michigan to stumble.
Yeah. Is there actually, of any of the assistants, is there anybody doing the exact same thing as last year?
Nua is the only one I can think of, right?
Nua
and Gaddis, yeah.
Gaddis, but now he's got a co-offensive coordinator,
right?
So his role has changed. I mean, he's still the receivers coach. He's still the OC, but Sharon Moore is now helping him with that role. So Nua, that's it. Yeah. One coach. one coach on the entire staff is coming into 2021 the same way that he came into 2020. That is a lot of change.
It's a lot of change.
So,
And
like you said, completely indicative that something was wrong in a big way. In a major way.
I think when you start to put the puzzle pieces together, you look at the changes Jim Harbaugh made, you listen to what these players are saying about what the difference was between last year and this year, you kind of get a sense of what was going on. Like there wasn't a good vibe in this team. Like I don't know if there was any true leadership. I don't know what was going on, but something was clearly wrong to the point where Jim Harbaugh had to restructure everything with his staff. And based on the work that he's done, the players notice it, the players feel it. And even a guy like Blake, who's only entering year 2, stepping into a leadership role, like he feels like a veteran on this team. Like when you talk to him, he just feels like a guy who's been around for a long while. So, it's hard on this side of it to not get excited about the season and be like, you know what, this time it's different. It's different this time. And I'm trying to keep myself from going there. But every time we talk to them and every time we hear these stories, I think culture is a big deal. And I think your mentality is a big deal. And if they are that much better off this year than they were last year, we'll see what happens. But to me, 9 wins is not, it's not crazy.
Roll the helmets out there and see what happens, man. That's where we're at. And that's what everybody's waiting for. Everybody's so anxious to see how the defense looks.
How many days are we out now? 30
It's like 7 until camp starts, but would be 30, like 35.
Okay.
35 days till kickoff, something like that. So it's close. Yeah, it's close. A month from today would be August 30th, and then 4 days into September. So 34, 35 days is all. It's coming, man. It's coming. Fall camp just about 6 or 7 days away. And last but not least, we'll finish up with the barbecue at the Big House, which is taking place this weekend, always one of Michigan's bigger recruiting events. A lot of the committed guys will be there. Will Johnson, Cody Jones, Alessandro Lorenzetti, Aaron Alexander from Belleville, Tyler Morris, Mario Eugenio, CJ Stokes, the running back from South Carolina that I spent some time with, Connor Jones, the offensive lineman out of, I believe, Tennessee, Tayshaun Trent, big-bodied receiver from Detroit. So those are the committed guys that will be in the house. Deion Walker from Cass Tech, the big defensive tackle, will be there. Isaiah Hastings, another defensive lineman who's really high on Michigan. Keep an eye on him this weekend. And then some young guys, too. Trying to think of who's worth mentioning from that young list. CJ Carr, Lloyd Carr's grandson, 2024 quarterback with an offer will be there. Brandon Davis Swain, talented D lineman from West Bloomfield, so obviously he knows Ron Bellamy very well. But it's always a big event, and now Michigan has a completely new staff handling things like that. Sydney Sims and Christina DeRuiter and Courtney Morgan and all these people involved, whereas before it was Matt Dudek, running around like a chicken with his head cut off. And now you've got several people, again, younger, more diverse. There's some women on the staff now. It goes back to what we just talked about in the locker room. And now these aren't on field people, but it's still new energy. It's still a new vibe. It's still a new approach. And again, back to Jim Harbaugh, you got to give him credit. We don't know what it's going to look like yet, but he's trying his ass off. I mean, you don't make that many changes and that many adjustments to your program in year 7 unless you can look in the mirror and say, like, something's up, something's wrong, something's off. And if this doesn't work, then he's going to have to look in the mirror a little deeper, because then there's one thing left. I mean, dude, when you literally get 9 new gigs across your assistant coaching staff and a completely new recruiting department all in 1 year, and it still somehow doesn't come together, and it hasn't happened yet, but a lot of people think Michigan's going to struggle this year. There's only one thing left. Right. It is what it is. So we'll see how it looks. We'll see what it plays out like when the season starts, but that's the reality of it. You make all those changes, you gotta, if that doesn't work, there's one change left. It is what it is.
And on the flip side of that, and I know you know this, but I'm just saying it out there to anybody who, is like, this Harbaugh talk, dogging on Harbaugh. Yeah, if it doesn't work, there's only one guy left. But if it does work, there was one guy who was really driving that to make it work. And so, that's where I'm at. Like, I want we both want Jim Harbaugh to succeed, because when Harbaugh succeeds, that means the team is succeeding. But win totals are just win totals. Like, these guys have to go out and they've got to win something substantial. They've got to legitimately compete for a conference title. They've got to legitimately look like they belong on the field with a team like Ohio State, not get their doors blown off. And if they can do that this year, then props to Jim Harbaugh. But man, if it looks like more of the same from 2020, 2019, 2018, then we're going to have another, a whole different discussion.
Damn it, dude. We forgot to ask about the blue on blue uniforms again.
Damn.
Again. It got brought up in the comments. Midnight Blues, new coaches. Well, I think a little sarcasm. What could go wrong with that face? But no, we've been talking about asking the players about it. I don't know if they're going to. They may not know if they're going to wear them, but I think they probably do.
I think they know.
I think they probably do.
Those uniform combinations that were coming out on the
From
recruiting
the visits
with the blue pants and the white, like, we want to know. Like, I get that surface level stuff,
it's cool though.
Stuff, but I still want to know, like, what are we going to see coming out this year? They've obviously got a lot of cool uniform combinations. I'd love to see them all on the field. I think it's great.
Yeah, we saw the maize jersey with the blue pants, the white jersey with the blue pants, the all blues. Haven't seen the white jersey with the yellow with the maize pants in a while.
Haven't seen anybody rocking that on a recruiting visit either.
Some people think that could come back this year too. Just a complete, almost a complete shakeup of the program from literally, dude, top to bottom. All the assistants, all the recruiting staff. Some transfers coming in to maybe play some significant snaps. There's just so many intriguing storylines, dude. I'm very ready for it. Dude, the more we think about it, the more we talk about it, the more I want football to be here. And we're not like a month out. We're like a month out.
It'll go quick. I feel like we were just talking about this not too long ago. We were like, 74 days.
Well, it's been like 40 days since we said that. Yeah. But I mean, we're going to keep bringing you news. We're going to keep bringing you entertaining stuff. I hope everybody out there enjoyed what we did tonight with Blake. I know I did. That was fun.
Yeah.
Honest take, Chris. How'd the game go?
I felt like it went good. I was in my element. You're talking about the game show?
Yeah. Football Feud.
The only thing I was missing was I wanted the big mustache. That was the only thing I was missing.
Harvey stash.
If I can get the Steve Harvey stash, I think it'll be on point. But yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun to bring these guys in, have a little bit of fun. Obviously, we want to ask important questions, but it's always good to have some fun with these guys. So.
I will say, I like the game. Any type of game is fun, and we plan on keeping the scores, and like that actually could turn into something kind of cool. I really liked finding out that like Mozzie Smith is bumping country music, and I really liked, finding out from Alan Bowman some of the things that that he said about his music, and
we got to squeeze those in there still. We still got to find a way to squeeze them in because Blake is listening to country. That dude is listening.
Probably.
To country music.
Small town Virginia, blue collar. He's out there laying sod.
John Deere.
Yeah, that John Deere stuff. Yeah, he's in there. Well, appreciate everybody joining us and tuning in and listening. This will be a podcast episode as well moving forward, and we will be back again on Monday. Do we have somebody on Monday?
I think so, yes.
Do we want to leak it or not yet? We're running out of music.
Not yet.
Just come back on Monday, and you'll find out. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about it between now and then. Thanks, everybody out there, for listening.